And the kids, yeah, the kids, we all thought they were this tragic little family. They weren't his. We found the DNA.
Be in a house when you were 13 years old and we can't find you. By the way, where's the baby buried? I asked that question to her. And she said what happened after she gave birth was they called her mom and they said that she's got to go. I said, how do you know the baby was dead? You're telling me they moved you into a room and they induced labor after you said, I don't want to give up my...
Not because I was embarrassed. Not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private. But it's because it was a moment very sacred. I was growing a human inside of me, my baby. The world that Charlie and I live in is very toxic.
If what Candace Owens just hinted at is true, it doesn't just complicate Erika Kirk's story, it rewrites it entirely. Because for months, people have been asking one question quietly. Was Erika ever actually pregnant? And if she was it really Charlie's? Right now, there's whispers on the streets of an alleged DNA proof circulating behind the scenes. So those questions are growing louder than ever, but let's start with something simple. In today's world, pregnancy is documented. Celebrity pregnancies are documented even more. But in Erika's case, there is not a single candid photo showing her visibly pregnant. Not one event appearance with a bump, not one paparazzi shot, not one unfiltered social media moment. And this is someone whose entire brand is based off on public facing. She has filmed herself on stages, on flights, at conferences. Music, even during emotional breakdowns, which makes this harder to ignore. Because when Charlie died, she did not hesitate to pick up a camera. I love you. I love you, God bless you. She filmed herself kissing her husband's body. She documented raw grief in real time. Music, so here is the contradiction. Why was pregnancy sacred and private, but death was public and immediate? If privacy was the principle, music, why did it only apply to one chapter of her life? That is where people began looking deeper. Erika's social handles are literally Mrs. Erika Kirk, her identity online is fully attached music to her marriage. So when that ultrasound footage surfaced, viewers noticed something strange. The name on the ultrasound was not Erika Kirk, it was her maiden name, Erika France. Now maybe that is paperwork, maybe it is timing, maybe it is administrative. But when your public identity revolves around being Mrs. Erika Kirk, forgetting that name on something as monumental as an ultrasound feels inconsistent. Music, another minor detail is that Charlie was absent during said ultrasound visit. Story of the woman who raised Erika Kirk, her mom, Loretta France. Yeah, that's Erika Kirk getting an ultrasound. It's been a lot of talk about whether or not that woman has really ever been pregnant. I've been pregnant 5 times. The first was a miscarriage, gave birth to 4. So you bet your ass I zoomed in on that ultrasound screen. And this is a close-up music of the screen. Which led me to do a deep dive into the stages of pregnancy, which I've done. You know, back in the day when I was pregnant, but it's been a while. Hard to see a lot of detail in that picture. Based on her stomach size and the size of what we can see, it would be safe to presume this is the viability ultrasound that they determine if there's a heartbeat, which they can do as early as 6 weeks. This is what it looks like at 6 weeks, and this is what it looks like at 8 weeks. Wanted to compare that to her picture, but I don't have the technology to zoom in on it. I wasted 2 hours, except I learned that at 9 weeks they hiccup. And the laughter, I didn't know that. Erika's first visit to the hospital was with her mother, Lori. When you add that to the fact that there are no visible pregnancy photos to balance that inconsistency, the headlines grow louder. Small details matter when there is no other proof, which brings us to music, the next layer. Erika could hardly remember her wedding anniversary or her kid's birthday. We laugh about this because our dates are so messed up because of babies. Meaning there's so many dates to remember, And then there's that episode on Charlie's music podcast where she mentioned that her obstetrician was dead. 'Cause I know we had a birth plan, and the only thing that went to plan on that birth plan was that we had a child. That's right, everything else we had a great went out the window. May he rest in peace, terrible stuff, so sad, but it gets even weirder. Candace Owens recently alleged that on the day Charlie was shot, Erika was not where she claimed to be. Seeing Charlie in an elevator, everything about Charlie is adding up. I cannot get a single person to confirm if they saw Erika, who's apparently out and about. I then thought, wouldn't it make sense? She screams in the middle of a parking lot, she screams in the middle of a doctor's office. Everybody kind of knows where they were when Charlie got shot. Okay, if this doctor's office had people in it, there's going to be someone who said, "Hey, I heard a giant scream at my doctor's office." Erika stated she was with her mother at the hospital receiving treatment. But according to Candace's sources, she was at a hotel suite in Fort Music, Huachuca, where he was to tell his story. But he also had to include the part where he claims that he saw Erika Kirk the night before. Also on Fort Huachuca at Candlewood Inn and Suites, okay. Back snorts at the time. Andrew Kolb was trying so hard to create an alibi for Erika, claiming that she went to dinner with Charlie the night before. He also forwarded a picture, which Erika took, by the way, that's her hand, basically showing proof that she was with her kids on September 9th. Proof that she was with her kids at 8:33 a.m. Pacific time, taking them for a walk before going into the office. Music, but new revelations now claim that not only was Erika gone the night before Charlie shot, she was allegedly with Music Tracy Martin, a woman whom she has known for over a decade. A woman who has been in her life, Music, long before Charlie. Tracy Martin, remember, Tracy Martin is Erika's best friend for over 15 years. How close are Erika and Tracy? They do everything together. Tracy says Romanian and Angels, Erika modeled for her clothing brands. That changes the emotional framing entirely, because if she was not with her mother, then why say she was? And if she was with Tracy, what exactly is that relationship? Observers have pointed to years of photos showing deep closeness between Tracy and Erika. Shared vacations, family holidays, you name it. Tracy was in a lot of them. Tracy's daughter McKenna was also Music, alleged to be Erika's personal assistant. This is shocking that Tracy's daughter is actually Erika's assistant. I'll put in allegedly there cause we've got to confirm that information. But the source knows. To some it looks like friendship, to others it looks like something Music more. And this is where the speculation intensifies. Because theories that Erika didn't have her own kids, but used a surrogate has already left the group chat. When you tie it to the absent baby bumps, forgetting her kid's birthday and all the other inconsistencies in her story, the theory is not simply that Erika used a surrogate. The theory is that the children may biologically belong to someone within her close circle. If that were true, it would explain Music, the absence of pregnancy photos. It would explain the ultrasound name discrepancy. It would explain why the narrative of privacy was so carefully controlled. And it would raise an even bigger question: did Charlie know? Or was he presented with a version of reality the public also believed? Now all of these speculations have been going on since forever. But things just took a wilder turn because of the name Tyler Boyer. And Tyler was there, Tyler Boyer, yes, he was there with his wife, his beautiful wife, and his kids. And he came up to me afterwards and he was like, "Hey, we're starting this, or we have this organization and we're starting in Arizona. Would love for you to be a part of it." And I said, "Thank you for all the information, but I am moving to Manhattan." And I was like, "Stay in touch," and we didn't really stay in touch all that much. Clears throat Tyler Boyer, and this is where the story stops being vague and starts becoming specific. Because word on the streets is no longer just about secrecy or surrogacy. It is now about paternity. Music sources are alleging that Tyler Boyer might be the biological father of Erika's children. And if that sounds extreme, it only sounds that way until you line up timing. It has now been allegedly confirmed that the night before Charlie Kirk left, the marriage was not in a good place, that they were not on good terms. That divorce was no longer a distant threat, but an approaching reality. Charlie was not wearing his wedding ring, slept on the couch, she didn't kiss him goodbye the day before. "I want to see what they did to my husband, and I want to give him a kiss. 'Cause I didn't get to give him a kiss this morning," he wrote Erika a note critics now question. Some even claim it could have been forged. Because why was it necessary for Erika to share Charlie's last letter to her to the public, knowing fully well that it would be scrutinized? A letter that has been deciphered to sing praises of Erika and proclaim Charlie's undying love for her. And then there's the detail that refuses to sit quietly. Erika was reportedly at a resort when Charlie was shot.